The transformation journey in the mining industry has been long and challenging, particularly when it comes to gender diversity and inclusion. For decades, mining has been perceived as a male-dominated field, but things have changed as we see more women take on leadership roles and make significant contribution to the sector. Today's guest is a true trailblazer who has been at the forefront of this transformation. Raksha Naidoo is the Chairperson of Women in Mining South Africa and a passionate advocate for gender transformation and inclusion in the mining industry. Her journey has been marked by a relentless commitment to breaking down barriers and creating opportunities for women in mining. She works tirelessly to address the challenges faced by women in the industry, fostering an inclusive culture where women can thrive, innovate, and lead. In today's episode, Raksha shares her experiences and vision for the future of mining in South Africa. She discusses the progress made so far, the challenges that lie ahead, and the strategies needed to accelerate the pace of transformation in the mining industry. Raksha, welcome and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Look, you are heading one big organization that creates an empowering network for women. Maybe just talk us through one of the key mandates that the organization is driving today.
Sure. So Women in Mining South Africa is a non-profit organization and was created about 14 years ago by a group of women who were looking to find their version of a boys' club, for lack of a better description. And over the years, the journey and I think the intention and the outlook of the organization has evolved. But one thing remains the same, and that is that our vision is to create a better world for women in mining and through mining. We're all volunteers in the organization. We all have day jobs within the industry, and we volunteer our time because we believe so passionately in bringing about the change that it's needed, and to create a network, a safe space, a sisterhood of sorts, where women can learn from their peers, colleagues, share, and hopefully then, afford themselves opportunities to further develop themselves as they start climbing that ladder. And collectively, we bring about change in our industry.
And having said that, Raksha, there is this unique leadership styles that women bring in organization that we cannot overlook. I mean, their influence in the spaces where culture is changed, performance is changed, the whole business outlook. Maybe just talk us through about what the organization miss out on or the economy is robbed of when women are kept in lower position or stagnant or even excluded altogether.
100%. Women lead completely differently. For lack of a better, I don't know, what is the right word? We lead with our hearts and with our minds, and we find the balance in between. The empathetic leadership styles of women enables different work environments and a more inclusive work environment, but truly inclusive. And I think that change in culture, the change in narrative, the change in people's behaviors ultimately is what develops people to be better. So the lens that which women bring into leadership roles is we stand back and we kind of watch everything. We learn, we observe, we do bits and pieces, and then we start leading. And then we add in what is needed. We bring the empathetic, nurturing side of what is naturally ingrained in who we are, and it allows us to create better and stronger relationships with our teams, with our staff, and also gives them the confidence to become more empowered for themselves as well. The industry is 100% being robbed, without a shadow of a doubt. I think there's certain ways in which the mining industry has been run historically, which is completely male-dominated. But in order for us to truly change, transform, do things different, we need different perspectives, we need different voices, we need different mindsets, and we need to look at things with a different lens. Women bring that. And I think that the more that women are kept suppressed in leadership roles, absolutely industries are going to be suffering for it. There are a few incredible examples of female leaders and female CEOs who have taken on senior roles within mining organizations. And you can physically see the impact in those organizations as well. And that's testimony to the fact that it's a woman at the top.
Raksha, the challenges that the industry faced then and now are completely different. Do you think there's an understanding from the women that what race we're supposed to be running today? And I'll give you an example. I mean, then women had to get themselves in the industry.
Right.
Today, it's a bit different. I mean, we still need to get women to come in. But now we're speaking growth. We're speaking empowerment. We're speaking support. Do we understand where we are today and almost what baton we need to give to the next generation?
That's so true. I mean, the first time women were allowed underground was in 1996, right, within the industry. So you're right. The first challenge was trying to get people in. Then the challenge was getting them underground into actual real mining. Now that they're here as I see it, the single biggest problem we have is retaining them.
Yeah.
And why are we struggling to retain women in the mining industry? Because of what you just said. The growth opportunities are not what they should be. The rate at which the transformation is happening is too slow. And whilst people are ticking boxes and putting women in strategic positions, is it really for the right reason? So the role right now, or the problem right now, is how do we as women take control of our own lives, our own destinies, and what do we now need to do to actually empower ourselves? Because we can't sit back and wait for our development to be someone else's problem. What are we doing for ourselves? We've got our foot into the industry. We all work extremely hard. We're there on merit. We've got the qualifications, but now we've got to do other things differently. And I think that a large part of the responsibility sits on us as well. As much as the industry needs to do something, government needs to do something, the various stakeholders in the industry, but we ourselves play a massive, massive, massive role. Something that I see a lot is a lot of women trying to become men in order to succeed in this industry, which I think is probably the greatest disservice you're doing to yourself. Your great superpower sits within you.
Absolutely.
You're a female. Use it. Own it. Learn who you are. Understand yourself. Understand the strengths and the beauty of what you bring. And harness that, I believe, in order to become better. And I think that is one of the blocks that a lot of us have.
Absolutely. I want us to actually expand on that a bit, that over and above what everybody else needs to do, there is that day-to-day decision and intentional actions we've got to do to 100%. Really empower ourselves.
100%.
Just talk us deeply into that. What are we supposed to do on a daily to ensure that this transformation dream becomes a reality?
You use the word, it's about being intentional, right? And we've got to be intentional, not for the sake of it, but because we want to, in all aspects. Women play so many different roles, right? So whilst you are the professional, you're also mother, wife, sister, friend, daughter, support, etc., etc., etc. And wearing the multiple hats requires you to have a strong discipline within yourself in order to balance your life as well. Because sometimes we give too much into one and we let something else suffer, and then the balance falls off and we ourselves can't sustain ourselves, right? So I think every day it starts in the habits. It starts in our daily habits. How we get up, how we almost look into the mirror and embrace ourselves kind of sets the tone for our day, I think, right? I try is the word here, to find something positive every single morning. I'm big on gratitude because we can't not be. The fact that we are here, we are having this conversation is a huge privilege, right? And so how do we now start off our day, whether it's prayer, meditate, whatever it is that you need to do for yourself, even if it is dancing in the kitchen with a cup of tea before you leave the house, you set the mood for what your mindset needs to be. We've got to be diligent about how we prioritize our time. We've got to be diligent about what it is that we're doing. We need to find the balance of, am I understanding where I need to be professionally? Where are my technical gaps? Do I need to learn something new? Do I need to take on new understandings? Do I need to read more? Do I need to go into YouTube and watch a little video that's going to teach me something? We have to almost understand what we know, but as much as what we don't know. Because if we know what we don't know, it helps us learn and empower ourselves to do the next bit. And then I think over and above all of these beautiful things, we've got to find time for ourselves. Find your peace, find your zen, find your moment. Because it does become very demanding, continuously chasing. You're continuously running to fight something. But I don't know, for me, I think the big thing was there has to be a realization as well that this is my goal. This is where I'm going and why I'm going there. If we know what we're trying to achieve and why we're trying to achieve it, all of the other bits and pieces become that much easier. Because you and I might both want... We both want empowerment, we both want the growth, we both want the development, but your and my end goal might be very different. And that's also fine. But how we each get there is what's important for us. But how we work together and learn from each other allows us to become stronger to get to that end goal as well. So it's a lot of intentionality.
Absolutely. Raksha, we find that even in the industry, there is women whose opportunities have opened for them and they're holding really high positions. But the empowerment traction becomes so slow and sometimes we don't necessarily expect that. And I want us to start discussing these kind of things where someone is on top, deservingly so. And there's almost not an expectation, but a responsibility they need to carry. But you find that they're not developing, they're not empowering, their office is closed, they're not approachable. How do we deal with those sort of situations? Because like I said, it's a responsibility we need to carry, but it's not a demand you can place on somebody else's career. How do we balance that off and how do we work towards pushing ourselves again, taking on the responsibility on ourselves as women to get this transformation going.
And it is a balance. It is something that is not easy to do, I think, right? Firstly, one has to want to do it. I completely agree with you. It is an absolute responsibility as female leaders in our industry. You have no choice but to. You've got to give back. You've got to lift as you rise. You've got to do all those wonderful things. But it has to start within. It has to start with you. You know, when I started my career, I struggled to find female leaders that I could look up to. I desperately looked for them because I knew there was stuff that I was missing. I knew there was stuff I didn't understand. And every mentor, every sponsor I've had throughout my career has been male. And eventually it got to a point where I made a decision, like I had to start like diligently looking for somebody. And that's how I found WIMSA and how I stumbled into that organization, because it was a group of like-minded women who got it. They understood, right? So when I sat in my senior leadership role, like for me, it was almost like, this is now my opportunity to give back. And I needed to become the mentor that I never had growing up. And so I think that is the biggest obligation that we as female leaders have, is we've got to give back and we've got to start creating this truly inclusive environment, because we've got the power to do so. We have the power to actually lift the others. We've got the power to truly develop, because we also know the pitfalls of not having support. We know how we stumbled. We know where we failed. So why not take those learnings and help someone else not go through that, but actually make the pathway a little bit easier for them to climb?
And I want to come in there, but Raksha, because I'm thinking, if somebody does not know that they're not doing what is expected, because people were led differently.
Absolutely.
And you cannot always think what you're doing is not correct. So within the Women in Mining organization, how do we address these sorts of issues where, I mean, somebody is there, they're not doing it, but they're not conscious of the fact that they're not doing it? How do we support them, because we don't know how they were led?
So one of the big things that we do at Women in Mining South Africa is we believe in peer-to-peer learning, right? And we foster a lot of conversations. So we have a variety of different, either online or in-person conversations, webinars, discussions around a variety of topics. I hate using the word soft skills, but around some of the softer issues that sometimes we neglect, because we become so focused on the degree, the qualification, the technical abilities, that we lose sight of the little things that are actually the big things, right? So that lack of awareness and the need for self-awareness is imperative as a leader. And if we don't have that, it almost becomes impossible to truly lead and to actually call yourself a real leader, I think, right? So what we do from our network is that we encourage people to listen to others and their journeys, because the ones that are aware or self-aware are always keen to share so that others can learn from it. We encourage you to find mentors, find sponsors, because it doesn't matter if you're a CEO or you're a graduate.
You never arrive.
You never. And you need a mentor. You need someone to guide you. You need the advice of others, because this is such a lonely journey as well. So the more support that you have, and as you build your tribe, the easier that becomes. So it's important for us to learn from one another. It's important to read. Like, read everything, read anything. You know, whether it's an article that you see on LinkedIn, or it's a book that you find impactful, or it's just reading an interview that someone else has done because you can gain something from that. Read, learn, empower yourself with the knowledge and the skills that you require. It's a continuous learning journey. And I think that when you get to that CEO level, or that chairman of the board, or senior management, or whatever the role is, you can't now take it for granted and think like, okay, I'm here, I'm done. No, like we've got to continue improving ourselves. You have to keep working hard, and you've got to give back to others.
And what's beautiful about that is that when you are there, you can make those decisions.
You have the power to.
You are in the corridors of power. You can literally just say, I want 1, 2, 3, and it happens.
100%. But you've got to use that power smartly, right?
Sure.
And for the right reason.
Absolutely.
Sadly, I think we all see that sometimes some of our biggest enemies are women itself, right? And you do, unfortunately, get that group of women who feel that once they get to that space, no, this is mine now. There's no other space at the table. I've worked hard to get to that spot. And that's so sad, because why? Why are we doing that to our sisters? Why are we doing that to the future daughters that we're going to have, and the future industry leaders? Because if we don't change the narrative, if we don't speak the honest truths and the realities, we will continue to perpetuate this discrimination. But the discrimination is going to be coming from another woman. which is a problem.
Hi there, I hope you're enjoying the conversation. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so by clicking on the subscribe button on your screen. And also, we love hearing from you. Drop us a comment and let's keep engaging. Enjoy the rest of the conversation. Another thing that sort of holds back the transformation journey, Raksha, is sometimes pulling the gender card, where somebody just says, I'm not promoted because I'm a woman. I'm overlooked because of a woman. I mean, that is sometimes genuine. But what holds it back is when the time you investigate, actually this person is not performing. This person is late. This person doesn't come to work. And once you put that card out, people even sometimes hold back towards not even want to have those conversations because it's almost like this has become a bit sensitive. How do we talk about it in our organizations, even at work, when people don't perform but almost want to pull the gender card to sort of want to sway through the system?
I think firstly, we've got to create the environment that is conducive to honest conversations.
Absolutely.
And as leaders, we have to create that space where, no, this is a professional conversation.
Come on.
This is not about your gender, your race, your age, any of those things. Yeah. If you are not performing, you are not performing. These are based on factual, tangible issues. You're coming to work late every day. I've got a timesheet that proves you are late every day. Or I see you physically late every day. It's got to be real things. We can't keep pulling gender cards for the sake of using a gender card. We've got to remember that whilst we are a woman, we still have to deliver.
Absolutely.
You still have to achieve the targets that are set out in front of you. You can't keep using these things to your advantage and do nothing about it. That's incredibly unfair.
Sure.
Because a lot of the senior male leaders in our industry will give the opportunity to those who deserve it. So make sure you deserve it. And when you are there, live it, do it, and then develop the people below you so that when they get to those spaces, they are ready as well. Because I think a lot of people also underestimate how challenging it is as you get up that ladder.
Yeah.
Lots of people want the titles of managers. And I chat to a lot of youngsters who are that I mentor, and it's always the same. Oh no, I've got my master's degree. I'm ready for university, so I can walk into a manager job. No, you don't know anything. To get to that manager level, there's so much of work you've got to put into it. And when you get there, it's not easy. Managing people is hard. So it's a continuous process that you can't just pull gender cards.
You can't.
You can't.
Absolutely. Let's look at the gender transformation journey in South Africa. I mean, progress has been made, Raksha.
Absolutely.
We sing a lot
Without
of
a
women
doubt.
in great spaces. But the boardrooms are still male.
The boardrooms are still male.
Just your reflection on that.
The board, 100%. I mean, I've sat in excos where I am literally the only female in the room. I look around and, you feel like you don't belong, right? You feel like, why am I here now? What must I do?
Sure.
But we've got choices as to what we do, right? So for me, it was a case that, yes, I feel really uncomfortable.
But I cannot be here alone.
But I'm here. And I'm going to make a difference.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use my voice to help others. And I'm going to stay because I've earned my stripes to be here. And then you start changing the narrative. So now I sit in a role where in my day job, I serve as a CEO. And that is my biggest focus, is to completely change the environment and the culture of the business that I lead. And to now start positively impacting the men in my organization such that the discrimination that exists in their mind doesn't exist any longer.
I love what you said, Raksha, that you said, I decided to stay.
Yeah.
Look, sometimes we find the frustrations and the stagnation, people saying, because of this, I'm leaving.
Correct.
And I'm thinking, that's fair. But if women then left,
where would
we be?
And as I said at the beginning, retaining women in this industry is so hard because of these reasons, right? Gender-based violence from a South African context is massive.
Sure.
It's one of the biggest problems that we experience, right, on a day-to-day basis. So CEOs, boards have a massive duty to play in terms of creating a safe working environment, right? Bullying and harassment is more rife than ever before.
Sure.
And that adds another complexity into it because it is really difficult to actually continue every day when someone is putting you down continuously, right? I've experienced bullying, the harassment. I've experienced all of these things. I have left boardrooms, gone into the toilet, sat on the toilet and just cried and cried and cried. Dab your eyes, touch up lipstick and walk out and carry on again. Because I know I have to do it. But not everybody has the strength to do those things as well, right? Yeah. And it's so important that we have to support each other. We have to empower each other with the right skills to become stronger so that you do want to stay and you do want to fight because you have to.
And I'm actually thinking, Raksha, and I want us to touch a bit more on this, on the retention part, because again, it's our responsibility.
Absolutely.
If we want to see change, sometimes it's not going to come easy.
Nope.
I've read so many books of women and what they went through to get us where we are. It's massive.
Yes.
And sometimes I think some people's roles, as it stands, is to stay, while others are fighting for us to go up. There's different roles that women play in this transformation journey at different levels, whether you're a graduate, a professional, or a CEO. Just maybe in light of retention, everybody's role in this journey.
The role is not, everybody's got a massive role, right? But it's not just women's responsibility.
Absolutely.
And I think that the biggest thing is that in order for true transformation to take place, men and women have to come together. Because we can't not.
Yeah.
Men need to be our allies. We cannot be fighting against each other. We just can't, right? As you said, rightly so, the bulk of the boardrooms are still male. So it's those men that are sitting in those rooms who need to be talking about, right, what is our gender ratio looking like? How do we now develop person A, B, and C such that she's ready to go to the next level and then from there she goes there? We need to be having these conversations where people know who the real talent in the organizations are.
Absolutely.
And that in those boardrooms, they are making concerted efforts in order to uplift for the right reason. Put people into those middle management positions because that's where it starts. You've got to go into middle management. You've got to start being developed, trained, invest in them. Invest in them to get the right sort of qualifications that are going to best empower them to then start climbing the level above. Because if you don't get your grounding and foundations right, you're going to be lost when you get to the top, right? So we all play a role. From that graduate who is now in the industry, doing a little bit, coming in with a different mindset, changed narratives, giving back to her students and her friends at universities that are still to come. Because it almost starts there, right? And then it's got to go that further step back where in our homes, we are raising our daughters and our sons with parity. We are not creating the discrimination at there. Because that gender norm of the boy can play with a construction truck, but the girl can't. Why do we still perpetuate it? So how do we change the narrative from our homes, primary schools, high schools, universities? It goes all the way through. So every single one of us plays a massive responsibility, definitely.
Let's talk about owning our table in the boardroom.
Yep.
Raksha, we walk into these boardrooms doubting ourselves sometimes. Doubting our opinions. And I've seen a lot of times where somebody would say something and you want to pin your opinion on them, like just like Ben said.
Yes.
Just like Sarah said, just to add on, what does that do to our image and how do we help ourselves to really step into the space, feel like we belong and contribute like we should?
One of the biggest conversations we have at WMSA is around imposter syndrome, right? Which is exactly what you're describing, right? Because the self-doubt, this inner critic, all of that stuff, I think it flies in all our heads constantly.
Absolutely.
Again, as I sit here with you, I'm like, well, why did she ask me to come here? Like, why me? I can think of 10 other amazing people who could do a better job than I can, right? And it's our biggest deterrent. And it's probably the biggest block that we've got in our own lives, right? So, why do we do it? And what do we need to do to stop doing it? Sometimes it's valid to tag on Ben's comment because it's a very valid comment. But we need to stop putting out disclaimers when we speak. We need to speak from a space of certainty, leave all our emotion out of the door. Most of the time, most people don't care they're not even thinking about oh, she said that word wrong, or oh, that sentence sounded funny. People sitting in a boardroom are there to get stuff done. They're there to analyze, interpret, make decisions, find solutions and move. So we end up overthinking when sometimes keep it simple. If you have an opinion and you need to state your case, state it factually, state it from a place of knowing, say it and be done. Say it with the confidence you need to. I think the choice of words that we use become important, right? I think it might be, actually it is. So choose your words carefully as well, because how the words that you choose also determines how you're going to utter those words and how you say those things. So I think we have to start doing it. And we almost need to call ourselves out on it as well. Like, no, I've got to stop this. Like, I need to do better next time. Learn from it. Like, don't be that hard on ourselves.
But it's also okay to make mistakes.
It's normal to make mistakes, my friend. Who is perfect? Absolutely nobody. So make the mistake. It's okay. Apologize if you've made the mistake.
Sure.
Something that I know I do probably every day is, if I don't know something, I will say that. Actually, guys, I don't know. Please tell me. Explain it to me. Help me. And you know, I've dealt with people recently who are so embarrassed to admit that they don't know, right? And I think that that's so sad because you're never going to know everything.
Sure.
I sit in my boardroom and I feel like I am definitely the least intelligent person around the table.
Yeah.
And I feel proud about that because that means I've got some incredible humans sitting there that I can learn from every day. Sure. And we must own the fact that we don't know everything. If you make a mistake, own your mistake, learn from it, pick up and move on, right? So if you keep making the same mistake, different story. But it's normal. Nobody knows everything. Most of us are winging it day by day. And it's real.
Absolutely. Look, I'm also seeing sometimes people walk in and there's a table that is empty and they choose to sit at the back.
But why do we do that?
So that everybody else can come in and sit comfortably when there is a role to take notes. And there's no problem with taking notes. I support that fully, but it can't always be you, you know? You cannot always be making sure everyone is comfortable. We are nurturers
Exactly.
we are nurturers, but in the professional space, there's certain things we need to learn to do and not to do. Maybe talk us through that.
Yeah, and that's the truth. Hey, we are nurturers. And, you know, I think over and above being nurturers as well, there's certain cultural norms that exist, right? Like, I mean, whether it's African or Indian culture, I think we've got a lot of similarities in those aspects, right? And there's certain roles that women assume in the home, how our mums were, grandmothers were, whatever it is. And so sometimes it's like easier to take that back seat, right? You're absolutely right. That is a major intentional decision you've got to take. Yeah. You walk into that room and you go and sit where you feel most comfortable on the table.
And if it's full, they can squeeze you in.
Absolutely. Take your own chair. Make a space for yourself.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Take notes if you feel you need to take notes for yourself. It shouldn't always be a case of us as women volunteering to be the secretary to scribe notes or whatever it is. Why? Like, I don't understand. Sure. And when we start breaking those norms, that's when we start changing narratives, changing organizational cultures. Because there's nothing wrong for a man to be the HR manager. Why is it always the woman who's an HR manager? You know, it's like little things.
Yeah.
But leaders, again, have to perpetuate the change. We've got to do things different. And we've got to take intentional different steps. Else our environments are going to stay the same forever and ever.
Let's talk about playing and playing to win, Raksha. You know, when you look at the industry, if you can't make the rules, you need to learn to play with the rules until you can change them.
Correct.
Which means you can't be fighting every single thing at lower levels. Sometimes you understand the rules and of course not going against your values.
Absolutely.
So that when you are on top, you can change. But sometimes we want to change every single thing while still at the bottom. And that sort of hinders us to even get to the top. What's your reflection on that?
That's so true. Because we think we can do it all, right?
Yeah.
And we can do it all immediately.
Yeah. Ooh.
And that's the hard part. It's a long game sometimes that we have to play as well, right? I think you need to truly understand who you are and where you are in the organization, right? As you start entering any role or any new company or even just entering the industry for the first time, you got to focus on building yourself, build your own foundation, right? Yeah, you can use your voice to stand up against bullying, use your voice to stand up against the discrimination and harassment, 100%. But changing organizational cultures and norms and rules and all, that comes from the top, unfortunately. So the biggest role in change has to sit with leadership.
Yeah.
It just has to. Yeah. In terms of like we almost need to, it sounds bad to say stay in your box because that's not what we're saying at all. But you do need to, you need to focus on you and focus on what you need to do to develop your career, because we've got to start building that career. Ironically, I've also heard people have said this to me, I've heard people say to other people, ooh, you better keep quiet else you're not going to climb this ladder. Ooh, don't say that because you're not. And that's not what we're saying at all.
Yeah.
Use the voice. Our voices are the greatest tools that we have. But we do need to start layering the foundation for ourselves, because you are not going to make radical change from the bottom up. It has to come top down.
Absolutely. I like that, because sometimes we fight the wrong thing. So Raksha, let's talk about
almost choosing your battle.
Yeah. And change what's in your control.
Because that's all you can do.
Yeah. Criticism and feedback, Raksha. You know, this is something that can either break or make you.
Yes.
Just what are your thoughts around how we should be taking criticism and feedback and using it to advantage and not necessarily to break us?
I think a lot of that is based on the delivery in terms of how that criticism and feedback comes.
Sure.
I mean, I've had feedback come from, my superiors where the tone in which it was delivered, the manner in which he spoke was just destructive. And you knew it was coming from a place of destruction.
Sure.
And that's hard, right? And it's not easy. So I think it's very, very important, again, to understand, okay, what is the message I'm trying to put across here now? How am I saying this because I want to help her? Or am I saying it because I want to actually, not destroy, but like I don't want to see positive change from it. So I think it is important how the message is delivered. And that's where, again, leadership plays a big role and HR plays a big role. But when the criticism is received, I think we need to also take notes. Understand what is being said to you. Sure. Why is it being said to you? Is it being said from a factual space? How did you play a role in all of this? What did you do to contribute to this? And now how can I then work on this and learn? Because I used to get very emotional. I used to get very upset. And then there was this thing that was known that, oh, she's not saying anything. Ooh, that's not good. She's not saying anything because she's thinking. Yeah, 100%. I would go home, sleep on it, reflect, make my notes, and come back and fight the next day. Because now I'm fighting not on a place of emotion, but I'm fighting on fact, right? So I think it's so important for us to be aware of where the criticism is coming from. But I think, is it Nelson Mandela's quote? Was it, I never fail, I win or I learn, right? And that's kind of almost the motto that we have to take in this. Feedback can only make us better. And if someone is not helping us and guiding us and using that feedback constructively, you're never going to learn and grow, because also you don't know if you're making a mistake unless someone points that out to you.
Sure.
And those things are there to help you. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in this rut of not understanding.
Raksha, what words of encouragement would you say to women who are in these male-dominated spaces, who are frustrated, who feel stagnated, who feel they are not growing and are really on the verge of exiting, almost like anything that comes to my table, I'm gone? What would you say to them?
I think first things first is you got to take a pause and take a breath and understand, okay, so what exactly is going on? Like, where is my problem? What do I need to do? Reach out to organizations like WMSA. We are here to support. We are here to offer an ear to listen. We are here to try and guide as best as we can. Find a mentor. Go out and find a mentor. Find someone that you can talk to. The role of mentors, sponsors, coaches are imperative. And each one plays a different role. There's a theory or a concept around, like building your own board of directors, right? And I learned this from a coach previously, of how, you need to build your own personal board of directors. So you need the right skills of people around you that are going to help you navigate yourself. Because if you're in that space where any little thing is going to trigger you to leave, have you spoken to someone? Like, have you taken advice? Have you raised it where you need to be? Have you spoken to your HR? Like, where do you want to go? Because if we also don't fix what's wrong, if this is a personal journey, it's going to be wrong where else we go. If it's the environment and the environment is not working because we are in a space of constant bullying and harassment, if no one is prepared to help you and your organization is not prepared to help you, absolutely, you've got to do something for yourself. But to exit the industry as a whole, don't do it. We have the greatest opportunity right now to be the change. We are the change. So you and I sitting here having this conversation is because we are going to bring about change.
Absolutely.
Somebody out there listening to the two of us is going to find something that's going to spark in them that says, hey, I can do this too.
Absolutely.
Getting to these levels of seniority don't come easy. You've got to put in a lot of hard work. You've got to find your people who offer you support. You've got to keep learning, and you've got to trust yourself. Because I think we stop trusting ourselves at some point. We stop being authentically ourselves and we give up. We can't do it. My word of encouragement would be, you got it. You can do it. You absolutely can. It's not easy, but keep trying. And your people are there who will help and guide you. And absolutely, you will be the change for the next generation that then needs to come.
I like that. Leaving is not plan A.
Never, never, ever, ever plan A. Plan A has got to be, okay, right? What happened? Where are we? Okay, let's figure this out a little bit. And you can't figure everything out by yourself. You need your people to help you figure it out. But leaving is never plan A, because it's such an exciting industry. Mining is interesting. It helps you learn so much. And science is cool. So
and
why would you want to?
We're in a journey. This is a journey.
It's life. And nothing comes easy.
For sure.
Nothing.
You've got so much nuggets to share, Raksha. I would like for you to sort of share some of the books that you think are extremely empowering and are a tool that, you know, people can use to better themselves and just to learn around how to navigate this transformation journey. What books would you recommend?
There are lots of great stuff out there, right?
I know.
There's so many.
I know.
So it becomes hard to pinpoint stuff, right? But they really are. Like, there's a lot of good stuff. Lean In is always so insightful.
Yes.
And I don't think there's a woman out there who hasn't read it, that hasn't learned something, and hasn't actually been able to apply it into her life, you know, on a practical basis. Something very simple that is one of those quick reads in like 2 or 3 hours, Who Moved My Cheese? Fantastic book.
Sure.
And what's fantastic about it is that your cheese is constantly moving. You need to understand what that looks like. And at different stages of our lives, those books become more relevant as well, right? The Alchemist is one of those books that is life-changing at different stages of life. I think I've read it now like 3 or 4 times, right? And every time there's something different. And my absolute favorite, whether it's books, his podcasts, videos, Instagram feeds, whatever, is Simon Sinek. I really love him. I find his Start With Why changed my leadership journey.
Sure.
Forever. And every single thing that I do, every single way that I approach anything is with my why. I work on the whys, and it has helped me immensely. I would recommend it to anyone.
Tell you what, I've read all the books you spoke about, and you are spot on. Raksha, thank you so much for coming through and sharing your insights. And the work that you do to empower women in South Africa in this industry is incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I really would encourage people to join Women in Mining South Africa.
Sure.
It's free membership. Come online, like look for us online, you know, check our website for the events that we have, and come and be part of this network. I mean, like, the support is there. So just find your people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This transformation is not just about equality. It's about harnessing diverse talents and perspectives to drive innovation, improve safety, and enhance productivity in the mining sector. Look, despite the progress that's been made, we still have a long way to go. Be sure to do your part in making our transformation dream a reality. Thanks for watching. Goodbye and God bless.